Brisket, pretty good. Want some? We got some right here. Coming up next on the channel. What's going on, everybody? It's Chad. Welcome back to the Dorky and 40 RC channel. Today we are going to be taking a look at the new Beef Tubes Brisket chassis for the DR10. Now, if you're a fan of me and you've seen what I've done to my DR10, it has got me through most of the season, and it has been cracked and epoxied and everything else. So it was definitely time for a change. The Brisket couldn't have came along at a better time. There's really not a lot of options for the DR10. It seems like different manufacturers are kind of changing models, or they're discontinuing things. Some of them are super duper expensive, and I did not want to go that route. What I wanted to do was take off everything from the back, including the wheelie bar, everything from the front, and plop it down on a chassis. And that's exactly what we get with the Beef Tubes Brisket. Don't have to pay for any extra stuff, no junk that you don't need. 150 bucks, bolt everything on it, way to go. So let's take a look at it here on the bench, and we'll get this thing built up. We're gonna run it today, all that good stuff. Let's do it. One thing you're not going to see in this video that I just acquired from Bill Rockhold, I'm going to put a link to his Etsy store below, is a set of transmission spacers that he has built for the DR10. It'll work with the Brisket chassis, it'll work with any DR10 chassis. And what it's going to do is it is going to raise up your transmission, just like all of the common bullet chassis, breakouts, things like that actually raise the chassis up. So your dog bones come up a little bit more. So that way you're getting less resistance, more performance out of the diff and out of the wheels and stuff. There's going to be more coming on that. He's got an Etsy store that he just built. I'm going to put a link to it in the description below. He's also got some awesome nylon printed like wheelie bars and stuff that I've seen. I pretty much talked him into creating an Etsy store last night online as I met him at the race. So keep an eye out for that stuff, and we're going to go over that here on the channel coming up soon. But reach out to him if you have a DR10. This is going to fix a lot of your problems. By the way, you get a free bag of Brisket beef jerky with the Brisket. Maybe it's a pre-order only thing, but it's pretty cool and it's pretty good. Garlic pepper. So this is it. 150 bucks, really good deal in my opinion. Like I said, you don't have to purchase anything extra like their wheelie bar or any of that stuff. Everything that I've bought will bolt directly onto this thing. Let's go ahead and crack her open here. You can see not a lot of parts here. We've got battery stuff, hardware, and we've got a front plate, and we've got two back plates here for where everything is going to slot in. If you take a look at how it compares to the regular DR10 chassis that's kind of all beat up, you can pretty much see how these are just going to all bolt together and take the place of that. And then of course the kick-up plate is going to be here, and we'll be able to see if we're still going to be able to use some of our modified parts that we have. Like, got a brass weight that went in the front. Of course, we got the McAllister body mounts and everything, and it all should work out. But there is your size difference, guys. We've got different ways to mount the body. We've got different ways to mount the battery. So we should be able to either mount one of our bigger max amps type of packs this way and use the body posts. Might have to get a little creative on that. Or you could run long stick packs, kind of figure out where you're going to shift the weight. So we've got a lot more tunability and flexibility built into this right off the bat. If we wanted to, it looks like I could even use my top ESC plate here to save us even a little bit more space underneath here if we wanted to run a stick pack further back. But since I've switched to pretty much all max amps packs or the new Trinity packs, those are going to be riding somewhere along up here in order to get us the appropriate balance. When we get everything built up, we'll scale it out, corner it out, all that kind of stuff. I've already started disassembling the DR10, as you can tell. I've been cleaning everything up. Thumbs up to an air compressor and spray away glass cleaner. Just works great, man. It works great. So this really should not take long at all. Should have this build up in literally 15 to 20 minutes now that I've got everything taken apart. So let's go ahead and get that done, and we'll show you some progress along the way. All right, so the chassis itself goes together really easy, just a couple things to do. Now, of course, we've got all this hardware here left over, which we assume is going to be for the battery posts, things like that, standoffs, servo, I would say. And then we'll see what other screws that comes with the kit here that we'll need to attach the rest of the DR10 to the actual chassis itself. So I think we'll go ahead and start with the front end. So I will grab that and let's go ahead and get that installed. All right, everything is done now here on the Brisket chassis. Let's take a look at it here. As expected, everything went together really, really well. We were able to use all of our parts. If we flip it upside down here, you're gonna see that we were even able to retain the McAllister body mount, tweaked it back, it was a little bent. Had to get some longer bolts to go through there. That all worked out really good. Servo alignment was slightly off. Probably could have drilled these holes out a little bit, but those worked out just fine. The entire rear end bolted together, super easy. You just really need to make sure that you're using the right size bolts, and you want to keep an eye when you are putting all this together back here to make sure that everything is compressed together and that you don't have any gaps, because these holes in the aluminum are not machined all the way through, so there is a stop inside there. You can see the front end is connected with 2 standoffs. That is really simple. And we take a look at everything else. I was able to reuse my original ESC battery tray. I think this is the one from Sagan Manufacturing. We've got the DRK with the 3.5 turn Phantom in there. Gonna test this baby out today. I went with 2 standoffs here in the middle so we can use the big Max Amps bricks and everything like that goes on there really well. And what I'm using for battery retention is, this is from my 5-star, and it's their battery plate, and I've got the GNSS on top of it, as you can see, and that just goes on there, and the bolts will thread through and hold the battery in place with a little bit of help from some dual lock, which is what I do on the Breakout chassis. As you can see, this thing is it's pretty flexy. It makes you really think about how it's going to perform. Going to be pretty anxious to see how that goes. We're going to get out and test this today, but definitely not as stout as a vehicle as the Breakout and the B6. Lower quality parts, all that kind of stuff, but this should be a pretty good optimal replacement. We're going to find out soon. What I want to do is put all this back on here, and then we're going to scale this up and see how our weight is looking on it, the front to back and the corners. And we'll probably need to put some more weight back on the front. Since I had that on the DR10, I don't see a reason why I wouldn't have to add that again. Now, we did replace the body with another Corvette, painted in this awesome hot pink fluorescent Traxxas paint, and it's got a coat on the plastic with their metal flake, which is really nice if you wanted to try any colors at all. So you spray that down first, and then you put your pink or whatever underneath it, and any paint that you have is a metal flake. And then of course it's all backed with white. I'm using their scale tint versus using Tamiya smoke, and that really works out really nice. It goes on really smooth. I always seem to have trouble with the Tamiya smoke getting a nice even coverage, but no, the scale window tint from Traxxas is a definite win. So I've been pretty happy with their paints, and it's a pretty bright body. Got a new wing on it too, Tony Evans wings. So it's all been mounted up, looks good. Let's scale this baby up. All right, so I did add a little bit of weight here, and you can see we're sitting at a nice 60-40. 40 in the front, 60 in the back. I think without the weight, it weighed out to about 3664, which probably would pull the front end. I've got the side to side about as close as I can get when you're using spacers instead of being able to turn the shocks. It does make things a little bit more difficult for adjustments, but if I kind of lift up on the front end and drop it or push down a little bit, you can see that it'll kind of vary a little bit. So we're gonna have to see how the car performs under a load. You can see if I push down on a little bit there and let it spring back, we're a little uneven on our left to right in the front. Usually don't do a whole lot in the back, but you can see just laying it down, we're at 50-50. So all we need to do now is go out and run this baby.
It's the first rip on this thing, man, so I don't know.
That's right.
I don't honestly trust it. It was acting kind of goofy, so I don't know. I'm gonna say it's gonna hit the, I'm gonna say it's gonna hit the left, but closer.
Look at that.
That front end needs limited like crazy.
Not necessarily. It's a little high. Yeah, you could probably lower that.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I would say so. Can I?
Hey, that is pretty deep. I like it.
It is. Can't go any lower with that bar. Well, just a smudge. About a 1/8 of an inch, I think. Oh, it went faster. Yeah, there's nowhere else to go on a wheelie bar, so it's pretty much useless.
Go, Dorothy. Go, Dorothy. Definitely 2.4. Oh,
Have to put some more power into it. I got DRK seems to kind of just die above 30 degrees in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, I've never really noticed much difference between 30 and 60. So what? So I just ramp it in and leave it at 30, leave the slew at like 10 and just ramp it in. With the Sanwa, seems to work the best. .25, 65 miles an hour. It's going fast, geez. It's lighter. All right, all the beans. Which curb? I can't move the bar either.
So that was it. Some spirited runs yesterday, and we've got a lot to talk about yesterday for sure coming up. But let's talk about the Brisket. So first of all, the chassis and the whole setup itself, of course, needs a lot of adjustment. Those are like the first 2 or 3 runs. I had the DRK running at 100% with 30 and then 60-degree timings with a slew rate of 8, ramping in the power with the Sanwa M17. Just seems to be more consistent that way. You could see when I dropped the timing all the way up that things broke loose, and that kind of happened throughout the day and the night of racing yesterday. So that was more just about track conditions. there was a lot of rocks and stuff down through there, so the prep was picking stuff up. But we're kind of running into some of the same things with the tub chassis. We've got some work to do. You know, you heard Bo talk about moving the battery forward. I couldn't move my battery forward anymore. I'm actually probably going to have to put more weight on the front and rework my balance a little bit to try to get it, you know, keep around that 60-40 number. The other thing is with Bob's transmission spacers, and we put those in, that's going to help our launch power. The lighter car though was a really big thing. I mean, this thing is about 400 grams lighter than my Breakout, and I was pretty surprised at the speeds I was getting off of the GNSS, although I've learned not to trust them as much. But you know, 65, 66 miles per hour was pretty good with this car, especially for its first couple runs. And you could see they really weren't super A to B runs. They weren't dialed in. I've learned a lot in the past month and a half on how to set up my cars, and I didn't apply any of that yet to this chassis. I just wanted to see how everything worked. So we've got transmission spacers to do. We got to redo the wheelie bar. The importance of a shocked wheelie bar is just night and day. I have a stiff wheelie bar on here, and it wasn't doing any good because it was too high. And now when we raise the transmission, it's going to raise everything up even more. So we're going to need to get that down even more and then try to shock it somehow. That shocked wheelie bar, again, just makes a huge difference. If you could get one of those on your car, you are going to really be happy with yourself. Bob had an interesting concept going on where he actually had his battery all the way up resting on his front body mount, and that way you're not adding unnecessary weight to the car. That's something maybe to look at and explore. Don't think I could get away with getting the body down as low as I can though if I did something like that, so I might have to stick with the stick-on weights and things like that. But all in all, I mean, I'm super happy with it. It definitely is a good upgrade to the tub chassis. Gives you that flexibility to run the bigger packs that are out there now, with a little bit of modification, as you've seen that I did in the video. So that's pretty much going to do it, guys. I give you the thumbs up if you're looking for a new chassis, or if you want to take your DR10 to the next level. You're not ready to invest into, you know, a higher end kit such as a B6 or maybe one of those fancy new Apollo kits that's coming out or something. So we will talk to you guys on the next video. Lots of good stuff coming up. Peace.